if I was a young player under him, I wouldn't want to work under him. And the same goes for the transfers. And I'll finish on this because I know I'm rambling on. When we're looking at these Ossimans and these Gyökereses and these types of players, if I was an attacking player worth anything at all, I would not want to work under that manager. Why would you want to work under a manager that has no proven track record with attacking players, who plays tactics that don't suit attacking players, who looks at the first thing when he goes scouting is, what's his work rate? What's his work rate like? I don't care about a forward player's work rate. I don't care about a number 10's work rate. I want them to work hard for the team. And most players do work hard, yeah. But I want him to save his energy for when he goes forward. Salah was asked at the end of the season on the pitch, what's the difference between Slot and Klopp? Doesn't make me track back as much. Guess what? No hamstring injuries for Salah this season. It's simple. You don't have your attacking players doing 80% of their run and going backwards. And that's why a lot of these players won't come. It won't have anything to do with us being Arsenal or money. Any forward that's worth a salt would not come here for that sheer reason that they won't get used properly. And they'll end up losing their place in their international teams and all that because they'll be getting dropped for Kai Havertz.
Shane, do you know what's facts there? And the real question to ask here, the real question to ask, hold on, Egal, one sec. The real question to ask here is, you said it, what is Max Dowman's work rate? Because we've seen that Mikel Arteta will not let a number 10 or any creative player express himself. So if Max Dowman hasn't got Arteta's work rate, bye. You will never get a game under this manager.
Honestly, bro, what are you talking about?
Let me land.
No, you're talking shit. You're all talking shit.
Yeah. What
it's
we
actually
do
ridiculous.
is, I'm going to finish making my point, and then you can come in. Yeah. So, right. So basically, yeah. What I'm trying to say is the point is, before I was rudely interrupted by a gal, is what we're doing here. I know, just jumped on. Yeah, here we go. This is probably going to be like this for the rest of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Now, well, the point I wanted to make, and I've made it a few times on my channel. Yeah, this is facts. You can't argue with this. Halfway through that season, Dan, that you were saying about the 22-23 season, you know, the one where we was blowing teams away and we was actually leaving the Emirates Stadium relatively happy with what we was watching that season 3 years ago. Tomiyasu and a couple of the other boys come out and said, when asked in an interview, so what's got you ticking? You know, it's taking a little time. He said, yeah, you know, it's taken us a couple of seasons to get used to Mikel Arteta's tactics, but we're all on board with it. What did I take from that? It takes a couple of seasons to get used to Mikel Arteta's tactics. So 2 years. Why does he change tactics every year then if it takes his team 2 years to get used to him? What we're doing is...
1 second. There's a very simple... There's a very simple answer to that question. So you're not predictable. Let me pull over because this is getting ridiculous.
We're the most predictable team in the league. We've got the same 11 and we've played the same 11 for the last 2 years. What are you talking about?
1 second.
You guys have predicted the Arsenal lineup the last 2 years ago. What are you talking
in all
about?
Due respect,
we're not predictable. We can't score goals. We can only score from corners. Once you nullify that, we've got no threat because we've got no players. Everyone's injured because we've got a thin squad. How can you say we're unpredictable? We're the most predictable team in England, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, you guys have all been saying the same thing the whole time, and it's really starting to get me annoyed because I feel like this is everyone's just agreeing with each other. First of all, Matty's sitting here saying a 15-year-old should be loaned out. Is mad. You want to keep a player like that in-house for as long as possible. You don't loan them out until you think it's completely necessary. And a 15-year-old getting loaned out right now would not benefit Arsenal Football Club. His development he still needs to stay with Arsenal. Number one. Number two, when it comes to Ethan, you guys need to chill out with the whole Ethan stuff. He's played over 30 games. Majority of them might have been subs, but the guy is young. He's 17 turning 18. You need to chill out. We cannot sit here and talk about Yamal. Yamal's an anomaly. That's not the normal, right? On top of that, to say Arteta is the reason why these guys this, these guys that. You guys, honestly, sometimes your agendas just show, and you're not really being objective because you're sitting here criticizing the manager. You're sitting here criticizing a manager. You're sitting here criticizing a manager about playing youth players and not changing up tactics. And then when he does change up tactics, DJB says, "Oh well, you're throwing the ball long. There goes your tactics." You're asking for a tactical change.
That wasn't a tactic.
You're
What does he have
asking,
to play youth players?
you're asking for different approaches, and then you go to the next level where Aaron is spewing about a whole lot of nonsense, saying, "Oh well, some of the best attackers don't track back." Did you not see Did you not see Kvaratskhelia tracking back in both legs versus
not
PSG?
relentlessly, Egal. You can't just pick one little thing that happens.
Did you not see Cody Gakpo tracking back on the weekend for Liverpool?
Not for 80% of the game, no.
The difference is when Liverpool and all these other teams track back, they are tracking back to a team that's already slowed down possession. We slow down possession when we're attacking. Other teams, they get the ball quick up the pitch and they don't slow down possession. We play a lot slower pace than some of these other teams. That's why it seems like we're tracking back a lot more or we're defending a lot more, because other teams, when they have their wingers isolated, it's because they do not slow down the pace. They get the ball up quick, and we don't necessarily do that. Now, the final couple of things I want to talk about. I really, really, really am annoyed by the way you guys are speaking about the club and the management of youth players, because you would think that Mikel Arteta was absolutely ruining people's careers. The guy's 15; he's not even allowed to play in the Premier League yet, and you're talking about Max Dowman getting ruined by Arteta. In all due respect, what kind of conversations are we having? I'm sorry, Dan. Dan, you're my guy, but I feel like we're having conversations for the sake of just having conversations without an actual something that's going to benefit the club. What does it benefit any of us sitting here talking about Arteta's management of a 15-year-old who's not allowed to play in the first team yet? That is ridiculous. And then finally, everyone in the comments is going to get on to me, say, "Oh, Egal came here to be all crazy." But the reality situation is I see 7 grown men on the stream complaining about things that are not really relevant to what happened this season.
Okay, well, whoa. I'll tell you what is relevant to this season. This season, we had a transfer window that was shit. That clearly we can tell it ain't done shit. We've had 2 or 3 before that. The fact you get on here saying we're talking about young players playing in the squad after we spent $800 million is enough in itself. That's enough in itself right there, Egal. Yeah. And then wait a minute. If you would have just waited to when I got through, but before you hopped on here, when I was going through my point, you knew I didn't mean loan him out as a 15-year-old. He's not eligible to be in the team yet. You knew that. You just wanted to get on here, wanted to jump your normal weekly talking points and say everything that you normally say. But the problem that you have right now, my friend, is that we are in another season where we ain't winning shit.
But what does that have to do with Max Dowman?
Like, no, you went down a long list. No, Egal, you're not gonna pull it with me. You're not gonna pull it with me. I'm a Virgo, you know, all day up and down.
You said Arteta doesn't give Ethan.
No, sir, you will not.
You said Arteta should loan out Max. You said the club should loan out
about in the future, Egal, and you knew that. You knew he was talking about in the future.
I'm sorry.
You can't loan out a 15-year-old. You can't loan out a 15-year-old. Legally, you can't do it.
No, Maddie said that. Maddie said that.
He was talking hypothetically in the future.
I asked a simple question. What do you do with Max Dowman? Do you trust his manager with him or do you loan him out? You inserted that I said he was 15 and wanted him to get loaned out. You made that assumption. What you should have did, no, Egal, no, sir, Bob. I will not let you out talk me, my friend. Not happening tonight. Not doing it. You might as well just take that car, get back on the M5 or wherever you rolling, and just head on to the house, my friend, because you're not going to win it with me, my friend. I'm not tolerating it. I'm not tolerating it, my friend. No, you can call my name all night.
All right, so what's your point?
Because Matty's giving him a rough ride.
No way. We're not having it, Egal.
What's your point?
We're having a discussion about what needs to change in this team going into next season. Each one of us have all highlighted things that need to be changed. You have inserted that everybody's in agreement. Everything was going fine tonight. Quiet. Dan was about to wrap the stream up. We was on the way to get ready to end it. You know, record time. And then you decided you wanted to pull up to the boulevard and you want to start a whole argument tonight about Max Dowman. Max Dowman. That's what you want to argue about.
When I hear hypotheticals about what are we going to do with a 15-year-old, are we going to loan him out soon? I get really irritated.
Y'all hear that? He wants to go back to that.
Chat about football.
No, but that's what you said, bro.
Just go by your
one second. Maddie, I'm not going to hold you accountable to what other people said. I'm holding you accountable to what you said.
I said, what do you do with Max Dowman? I said, do you loan him out? But you the one that said you keep going back to this 15. You keep going back to this 15 deal. You keep going back to this. That's you.
Because, no, because there's two people on the stream that were speaking about the management of a 15-year-old, and I just find that hilarious. So I'm gonna call it out.
Why do you keep coming to me? You address them. I
told you started the conversation of Max Diamond. You started the conversation. You started this conversation.
You can't handle the truth.
Swerved on all the other points, by the way.
What truth?
Nicely swerved, though, Egal, on all the other points. That makes
if he's not getting first team football, it doesn't matter who's manager. Most clubs will loan out their most clubs will loan.
You're not going to loan out a 16-year-old, 17-year-old.
Listen, most clubs will loan out their talented football players to go and get experience if they can't get in the first team.
Not until they sign a professional contract, my friends.
When they sign a professional contract, if Dowman signs a professional contract, like a lot of teams from around the country and around Europe, if they cannot get into their first team and they have a talent, rather than just languish in the reserves and places like that, they loan them out to get experience. That's what they do. A bit like what Egal does. He turns his camera off and goes away.
Good.
Guys, I'm not home. And if
Max Dowman,
we would have had a full conversation.
When he gets a professional contract, if he can't get in the first team, if there's no place for him in the first team, he has to be loaned out to gain experience.
No, he doesn't. That is wild.
We're never going to agree on this one. We're never going to agree on this one, man. Let me just.
Why are we talking about loaning out a player who's currently 15?
Let me close on this.
The only one constantly talking about it is you, to be fair.
You're the
only one talking about it. Matty just made a very small point. You're the one that's been talking about it for the last 10 minutes.
Bro, Aaron, before I said anything, Aaron, you were talking about Arteta potentially ruining Max also. Don't act like you weren't talking about
it. Potentially. We were discussing it potentially.
He will do.
Let me close this segment by saying this, right? Matty asked a question about the Max Dowman thing. Oh, he's gone.
There it is.
I genuinely think he wanted to have a chat. He was trying. He was trying to, but he
came in all guns blazing, to be fair.
Anyway, I don't need to explain what that was now, but big up to Egal as always. Look, we'll move from this because let's be honest, that was a mad one.